I think it would be interesting to think about all these 4 points in a way of how does it affect your winemaking process and the wines that you produce, each point, because I think it's very interesting and they must have great effect on the philosophy and also the end product, the wines that you are creating. So let's start with the first point that we already talked about, the being old. So what effects does this have on the winemaking? You mentioned the grape varieties that you are reaching back to the native grape varieties. What other technologies or philosophy are you applying based on the fact that it's such an old chateau and industry?
Well, if I go back to the point that you referred to, old and tradition, so to speak, we still, to date, hand harvest. And hand harvesting doesn't only ensure quality, but it also goes into the heritage, because 1857, 1898, 1900s, you didn't have any mechanical way to harvest.
Yeah.
So that is a traditional practice that we still practice to date. We've got concrete tanks as well that the Jesuits used to use to mature the wine, that we still use in some of our wines today. We use our indigenous grapes as well. That goes within the tradition and the practices that used to be done before. We also work with our adoptive children. Our adoptive children are grapes that are not native to our country, but that were used in 1857 or the 1900s to make wine. So, for instance, Cinsault, Grenache, Carignan are our adoptive children in Lebanon, and we love working with those grapes. That said, going back to the last point, the diversity, Ksara is very diverse. So you can actually find the Ksara in these 4 points. So the altitude where the vines are more than 1,000 meters, the heritage part or the old part of us being founded by the Jesuits, and then working with these traditional grapes and in the traditional methods. French, because the grapes are French as well. So Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay, Merlot, Petit Verdot. And the diversity is the actual different styles of wine that we produce. So we produce single varietal wines, we produce blends, we produce whites, we produce rosés. We've had 168 years to be able to build a wide array of wines to suit every single consumer palate. And every single wine has its own identity, every single wine has its own character. You'd almost think that there's 17 wineries in one winery when you try our wines, and it's one winemaker, Frenchman, Bordeaux man, Mr. James Palget. Also going back to tradition, we kept the French winemaker that makes our wine. So all this factors into the 4 points that we mentioned before.
Wow, that's interesting. Thanks for watching this video. You can watch the full podcast episode by clicking here, or watch another interesting video by clicking here. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section and see you in the next one.